Good morning. We appreciate our county's Community Action Committee taking the time to listen to us today. I'm Lucas Streever.
I'm Jonah Gibble.
I'm Tyler Engel.
I'm Melissa May.
And I'm Savannah Bastion Brown.
And we're going to be talking to you today a little bit about making the shift from our traditional non-renewable energy infrastructure to a new, greener, renewable energy infrastructure.
To begin talking about our traditional energy infrastructure, fossil fuels are predominantly used in all areas, such as transportation, electricity, residential. Some advantages to this would be the infrastructure is well established, subsidized and carries an accepted monetary cost. Disadvantages would be the greenhouse gas emissions and transporting the energy. Threats would be it'll eventually run out, and energy security, we have to get them from foreign countries and it's not very safe.
So transitioning from the non-renewables, here's some stuff about our renewable energy infrastructure. And there are many opportunities to carry this out. One is hydropower, so we can harness the power of water through dams in order to generate electricity. We can harness the power of the wind with windmills. We can capture the sun's light and make it into useful energy with solar panels. We have bioenergy, so we can burn biomass, which is plant and animal matter, and make energy from it. And there's geothermal energy. We can use the heat from within the earth. So just like our traditional infrastructure, this renewable energy also carries its own distinct advantages, disadvantages, and threats. And we compiled a list of some from TerraPass and Regen Power. So some of the primary advantages are cleaner air due to less greenhouse gas emissions, long-term energy and cost savings, and we also help to conserve our natural resources by using these. Now, some disadvantages is the upfront cost to implement these. There's also a carbon footprint for the manufacturer of the tools needed to implement renewables. And there still is an environmental impact. We have to clear land in order to make room for the items needed for renewable energy. And our infrastructure for renewables is not established yet, so it's not always readily available. Now, some threats that we can foresee. Again, the infrastructure is not here, so it's not reliable, and renewables don't always meet our power demands. So if we rely on them solely, then there can be brownouts and blackouts. And in the end, disposal is very difficult of the items needed to generate renewable energy.
One example of renewable energy in our area is solar. Factors making it difficult to switch to solar energy: the upfront cost of solar panels, energy on solar, education on solar, advantages of solar energy, no carbon emissions, possibility of saving money long term. Disadvantages of solar energy: can intrude upon forest and agricultural land, very limited recycling for panels. Solar panel materials are limited and can be pollutants. Got this information from earth.org, and this is a picture of a local dairy farm that is very happy with their solar panels.
Currently, there's a large debate going on about renewable energy versus natural resources, which one's better for our environment, which one's more efficient for our economy. Positive impacts of our renewable resources, which would include sunlight, water, wind, bioenergy, geothermal, and the world around us, is they help reduce and prevent climate change throughout the world and in our area. Renewable energy systems have smaller carbon footprints than the natural resources we are currently using. Locally, Williamsport has instituted a hydroelectric dam that is powering their power plant, decreasing the carbon footprint in their city and area. I gathered this information from Penn Life. They didn't institute a new dam in the river. They actually put a hydroelectric system onto a pre-existing dam with a trout screen and ladder to ensure the fish's safety. Negative impacts would include the installations disrupting land use and wildlife habitat, and they also tend to use large quantities of water. An approach to target negative impacts would be including communities in the decisions and process and where you're going to be placing it to avoid minimize environmental impacts.
Globally speaking, our renewable energy landscape is very, very new, so it's not very good and it's not very efficient quite yet. But being in these early stages, it is developing very rapidly. And the United States is one of those countries that is sort of taking the initiative and helping it develop more and more. Western European countries are another great example. They have flatter land and a nice sea breeze that helps them to use more renewable energies. Now, one of the primary barriers towards shifting towards renewable energy is, like we've talked about earlier in this presentation, our fossil fuels are already here, the infrastructure is well established, it's relatively cheap, and it's subsidized by the government. So moving this solid foundation is very difficult. But someday, the solution is just going to have to be that infrastructure has to be moved towards renewables. We have to move government subsidies from fossil fuels towards renewable energy.
Local action. The question we were tasked with is what actions can be taken on a local and individual level to support renewable energy. So on the local level, we can offer incentives, examples being tax incentives and funding options. As well as on the local level, we can do public education. How can we educate the public and get them on board with renewable energy? And on the individual level, we can advocate. We can speak up and let our voices be heard on the positives of renewable energy. Energy justice. The goal of achieving equity in both the social and economic participation in the energy system. This is broken down into three components: health, social, and economics. Inherently, renewables are safer and healthier for humans. While social impacts, it's way better than non-renewables as there's less to see and less sound to hear. Economically, renewables are not as good as non-renewables, as non-renewables are a main staple in our economy. So unfortunately, we will see a loss economically with renewables.
For my personal action, I chose to figure out a way we can use the renewable resources around us instead of instituting new ones, such as the windmills, the solar setups, wood, and the hydropower systems. I would like to advocate to utilize the renewable resources on our state power grid to also decrease costs for citizens and just the state in general. I'm not saying we should use all of the power we're generating, but use a small portion of it.
Something that I'm quite proud of is that my home utilizes a geothermal heat pump. So this is a great transition from using fossil fuels like coal and oil to heat your house. Now, it does come with a higher upfront cost, which can be quite an obstacle for some people. But in the long run, there are certainly energy and cost savings. I've certainly been very happy with it. And in some cases, there's also tax credits. So there's certainly opportunities out there to help you implement something such as this. Now in the wintertime, it can be a little more difficult for these heat pumps to keep up with their HVAC demands. So I supplement that with burning firewood. And this again is cleaner and more cost effective than fossil fuels.
For my personal action, in the future, I would like to utilize solar panels on my family's property, as well as add a geothermal system. But what I'm doing right now, and what I'm going to continue to do, is advocate for the usage of renewable energy resources, as this is the future, and our voices need to be heard.
For my personal action, my family considered implementing solar panels in our home, and we installed a geothermal heat pump in our house as well.
For my personal action, I would like to keep advocating for renewable energy sources in my community. And I would like to carpool or bike to school more often to help cut down on fossil fuel usage. And I would like to eventually install solar power to my home in the future.
So thank you again for taking the time to listen to us today. We hope you take away some of the advantages, disadvantages, and threats that we told you about, both the non-renewable and renewable infrastructure, and how we can make that shift to a more green, renewable, sustainable future. Thank you.